everybody. It's been a really interesting few weeks as tensions have sort of exploded following the riots that have been sort of happening all over the country. And much like in 2014, 2016, and pretty much every time a person of color, specifically a black man, is killed by the police, there is an outpouring of concern and well wishes, and that all is very fantastic. And I'm so glad that people are like caring and hurting and wanting to be a part of this conversation. But I've noticed some patterns that have emerged that have really started to kind of bother me, and I really just want an opportunity to share my feelings about that and then hopefully offer you guys something that can hopefully make a difference. Back in 2014, I was a writer, and a lot of the writing that I did was around race and nerd stuff. And what I found was a lot of my popularity came from being someone who could write eloquently about race and have the answer. And I found myself almost like a grave robber looking for opportunities for terrible stuff to happen so I could have something to write about. And it really messed up my relationship with writing. I still am working on becoming someone who writes just for fun, who writes just the things that they care about and don't need sort of this unresolved emotional tension to sort of come up. But as a result of that, I'm in a lot of people's brains and estimation a sort of resource that people can go to. And in the last few days, people have been reaching out to me, like really seemingly searching for answers. And the reason I sort of felt that this was happening is because I've never been more happy in my life. Like, I've been through a weird journey, and I've never really been like, I'd like to consider myself to be like a positive person, but never like a consistently happy one. And so I was facing this very interesting cognitive dissonance of people expressing concern for me when I was feeling really, really great, and took only a couple conversations before I realized, oh, other people are hurting, and they're assuming that I'm sharing in that hurt, and they want to sort of solve that problem. And digging in a little bit deeper, there seemed to also be a feeling that there's some hurt within them that is sort of being unresolved. And being completely real, like, I'm want to be able to hold space for that and do something about it, but also, like, you know, I'm too busy living my life and doing stuff. So I kind of sat on this and thought about it for a little bit and really opened space for whatever feelings that I did have. And the feelings that I did have were hurt, sadness, and compassion, and not even for sort of like my fellow POC, because like it's just another day at the salt mines for us. I mean, this is, I think, more intense. I think the situation around COVID has made people like really wanting to like see effective change happen in the world, but it's the same sort of story. But when I started tapping into like my own particular experience of anger, that's when I started to realize that something new was coming up for me, and that required me to do some different action than I had previously done. And the specific anger that I was feeling was like, I don't want to see this story happen again. And not to say the story of someone getting killed by the police. I'd love to not see that happen again, but I'm not interested in living in a world where my well-being is contingent upon that changing, because I don't necessarily have control over that. I have influence and I can do things, but as I started to think about what exactly can I do in my sphere of influence to affect this, and what do I want to do, I wanted to have different conversations about this. I wanted to have different conversations where I don't have to be the one driving the car, and I wanted to have conversations where I felt like I was sort of an equal participant and not some sort of guru, teacher, victim that someone can take care of, someone that can teach things. Like, the next time this goes around, I want to be able to have actually like meaningful conversations with people instead of maybe having to administrate their feelings. So when I started answering myself, like, how could I do this? I realized, well, since 2019, September 2019, like, I've been working as a personal development coach, specifically around helping people bring into their reality futures and visions that they want to have a part of. Like, I feel very confident in that work. A lot of people have gotten some really amazing results from that. It's been an enormous, amazing ride, and is the reason why I'm able to like live in this world and experience this type of happiness. So I was like, okay, well, this is a much bigger issue than just, you know, helping people like align with like their jobs, or this is a bigger issue than just helping people sort of figure out how to remove limiting beliefs so that they can be more creative. Like, I mean, there's lots of stuff that I work with, but I've never really gone after something like this. And then I kind of had to look at myself, specifically look at the part of myself that believed that and was like, are you right? Like, are you correct? Is there anything that we could be doing in the work that I do every day that I show up that could give me and other people who are looking for like this different experience of reality around race, around allyship, around like what do I do next? Is there a way that we could actually serve those people? And very begrudgingly, until I really started to do the inner work and tried to find a way that I could do this in a way that would be fun, the answer was yes. The answer was absolutely yes, because what I keep hearing time and time again when I talk to sort of my people and they're reaching out to me and we're having these conversations is either one, I'm not hearing anyone reach out. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, it'd be nice to sort of be reached out to. But then I'd start encountering this weird experience that I'd have too of like, oh, they're reaching out to me and they're kind of dumping like their problems on me. And that's like annoying and I'd rather not be reached out to. I'm like, no, I do want to be reached out to. I just want that when people sort of show up, they have a sort of different conversation. And when I ask the question, what would make people have that different conversation, it all comes down to people being in full responsibility for the experience that they're trying to have. Because there's a few things that I've already heard around this sort of issue. Is that one, I need to decenter myself from this narrative. This is sort of from white people. Black people are hurting. I want to be able to hold space for them, and I need to be decentered from this experience. Which, again, it seems like that's coming from a really great place, except for the fact that everyone is the center of their narrative. You can't decenter yourself from your relationship to this. And so what I end up hearing actually is a lot of disempowered people saying, I want to help. The only way that I can help and feel safe is to sort of remove myself from this conversation, while I hear my people of color, my black friends, hurting deeply and wanting to sort of be held, but not really knowing how to like know who to trust, know who to reach out to, know who's going to be the person that has the skill to sort of develop that safety. And it's, again, like, I want to say it's sad, but really it's just sort of boring to me as someone who feels comfortable moving across both of those sides and seeing sort of these needs and seeing people not really stepping up. And so I've just started asking this really basic question, like, what would you like to happen and how would you want to feel when that happened? And can we practice having that feeling already so that we can make sure that we're not rendering aid to people or showing up in the performative, fear-based, I have to run away from my shame to do this activity, versus my ability to, in a centered, grounded, heartfelt way in alignment with my own values, move forward in a way where I'm happy to make mistakes. I hear that time and time again, like, I don't want to mess up, because if I mess up, I will feel bad, and if I feel bad, then I won't want to like do any work and help. And of course that's a crazy cycle, because now, because people aren't making mistakes, they're not growing. We're not seeing them really stretch themselves. We're seeing a lot of comfortable moves made by people who have structurally been more comfortable, and then also just a lot of space being taken up by people from the safe space being able to say, like, this is as much as I'm willing to do. Or the flip side, people who are doing way too much with no skill developed, getting themselves hurt, burnt out, another version of unskilled action that doesn't ultimately serve us in the long run. Because my deep, dark belief, and I give you permission to try this one on, the reason that we want a better world for ourselves is for everyone to be happy. And we're not going to get that world by making ourselves collectively unhappy to get there. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to be easy, hard. I'm not going to say it's not going to be like a weird journey for all of us, but much like every hard thing that I've done in my life, like, the way that allows me to show up consistently is that I have to be getting something sort of meaningful. I have to be able to live into that feeling of alignment. I have to kind of enjoy myself. And in my program, Mastering the Game of Life, that's what we all talk about. It's like, if you got to be here on this planet, if you've got stuff that you need to do that you don't have a choice about, it's gonna be miserable to do it. One of the definitions that we have for games is overcoming unnecessary obstacles in the spirit of play. And if your obstacle is necessary, you can't play with it. And so there are a bunch of white people I see in this experience of, I'm stuck in this position where I'm helpless. I can't help the people that I want. I don't know how to do this. I have no clarity, and I'm stuck, and I can't play around with it. And so it's not fun. And so people are shying away, and people are feeling real terrible. And so I guess I want to offer an ability for us to do something with that. Can we create a space within ourselves, within our community, so that we can maybe have a little bit more space to play with, so that we can get the skills that we need, so that we can hold that discomfort in a way that actually gets us the results that we want. Because if my friend Dre once told me multiple times, very wise man, if you fall in love with the fight, you can't lose. And if you're falling in love with the fight out of pain and guilt and desperation and need, you're in a codependent relationship with the fight. And that's not healthy. And that's not going to keep you going sort of forever. So, what I want to do is talk about my journey, and then I sort of want to talk about a potential journey that we can have people potentially go on and see if we can do as an experiment a different way of mastering what I call the game of allyship. So there are a few beliefs that, again, just want you to try them on, see if they feel comfortable, play around with them, and examine the parts of you that want to spit them out. But first, don't show up for the external work if you haven't done the inner work. Like, there are so many feelings that we have inside of ourselves that don't allow us to show up as our best selves. A lot of us will run to the external world so that we can do something that will make our internal world feel great. That's the basic of white guilt. I feel bad inside. I feel bad. I feel like I'm doing bad things. Let me go out there to do something so I can feel okay. But because I've done that thing out there in the spirit of the guilt, the only thing that I'm practicing is continuing to feel more guilt. So until you can reach a space of peace and joy and know that the actions that you're doing matter to you and feel good and that you will show up to them every day, you're not going to stick with it. That's just one thing that I've observed in my own life, and that's something that I think is true for all humans. It doesn't have to be complicated either. Before we had all of this knowledge, all of these books, all of this information, all of these things that we could use to get distracting ourselves, we showed up with our hearts. We kind of let our hearts guide where we needed to go, and we did what we could with what we had where we were. And because we can imagine more things than are in our sphere of influence, that feeling of comparison, that feeling of, oh my God, am I doing enough, will always make you feel less than if you don't have that safe grounded place within yourself to make those actions. So don't complicate it, because complicating things as a reforming overthinker is the easiest way to have to avoid doing what you think is going to be uncomfortable. And let's just be real. Even if you're playing a game, not every part of playing a game is comfortable. When you're playing tag, you got to run. When you get tagged, it kind of sucks when you get tagged. When you're playing hide and go seek, there's a little bit of stress, but because you know it's in a game, you can show up to it in an easier way. And so let's just keep it simple. What do you want to feel? What is available to you, and that's obvious in your current sphere of influence that you can do that will make you feel that feeling? And how do you get the reps in to show up that way? So how does this sort of connect to me? So I stopped talking about race. I kind of stuck my head in the sand. I would make my 2 cents, but I didn't really like talking about it because the conversations were never interesting. Either people wouldn't listen to me because they were too overreactive to wherever their life was going on, or they would listen too distinctly and then go off and do something that would make themselves hurt, or I'd lash out and just ultimately the net positive of the interactions weren't going really great. So I shifted that. And started to ask, what life do I want to live? When I want to end, and I'm 80 years old on my deathbed, what experiences did I want to have about race? And ultimately, it came down to, I would like my sphere of influence, the people that are around me, to be informed, grow in their development, and have increased as a function of being around me their ability to show up in uncomfortable situations and hopefully provide better outcomes for the people that are in their circle, and to continue to do that and to continue to add complexity until my particular version of the game ends. And I could die knowing that I showed up to that every single day. And so this is a version of that. So here's the brass tacks. I put together an offer. I put together a program. I usually teach a 12-week program one-on-one to help guide people to the mental skills, imagination, visioning skills, identity skills, personality work, so that they can build a life that they would love to live. I'm shrinking that down. We're going to do it in a big sprint for 30 days. Instead of being one-on-one work, it's just going to have the main tools. It's going to be some reading, some homework, but the main thing that I did to make sure that this is something that would be really easy for people to say yes to is that the requirements is 30 minutes a day. And I made it 30 minutes a day because everyone keeps asking the question of, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And my response to that is, I don't really care what you do. I care about who you're going to be. And I'd rather know that I'm surrounded by people who be in the work 30 minutes a day for a month. Knowing that someone can do that, I can show up to them later. I can say, you know what? you're willing to like at least encounter yourself this much. I can trust you at least this much, and that'll be like really great. So it's 30 minutes a day for 30 days to encounter and to spend the time building the world, the game of allyship that you would like to play. So we're not going to play the game of like, here's how you can feel bad at yourself. Here's how you can go find some new stuff so you can go to your parties and say, look how great I am for knowing this new thing. Look at this podcast that I listened to. We might consume content, but the real goal is going to be finding a way to purposefully encounter healthy discomfort, and healthy discomfort can only come from within. We're going to encounter healthy discomfort a bunch of times. We're going to teach you tools that will allow you to metabolize that discomfort and teach you tools to imagine a higher version of yourself that would be fun to try to be. Because right now, everyone has, I'm guessing, this image in their mind of the perfect ally, the Superman with the sword who slays the enemies of racism and takes it all out. And when they look at that, they go, well, that's just too far for me, and so I can't do it. I'll do my small, safe version of that. And so, one, we never get that superhero, not that we even need him, but we also don't stretch ourselves in the place that are actually going to take us to the next space. So, again, here are the brass tacks. Well, there's tons of good anti-racism resources out there. Tons. If you take anything from this, just know there are tons of resources out there. The answers are there in information aspect, but what I want to do for people is help them self-generate wisdom. And wisdom is generated through experiences, and wisdom is generated through experiences and failure. And so our job is going to be, how do we make playing at our edge in this world fun, meaningful, something that you could easily enroll other people into? Because it's nigh on impossible to confront your implicit bias and complicity in white supremacy without a consistent practice of witnessing, dialoguing with, and integrating these disowned parts of yourself in a safe, effective, familiar container. Because here's the thing. All of these negative things you're seeing in the world, for you to even have the emotional reaction to them is to have a part of yourself that can recognize them. And so many of us push that part away. It's too exhausting to have to encounter the part of us that might be responsible for that. But until we can encounter it, see what it needs, see where it's hurting, that's going to be the only way that we can figure out how to make meaningful change. We have to be able to take on that perspective and figure out, like, why is this happening? So here's what you're going to learn in this course. You're going to learn how to identify unintegrated personality parts that are limiting your ability to act bravely and in alignment with your highest values when facing a world ruled by white supremacy. Because we can imagine it. We all know where we want to live. The only thing that's getting in the way are the things that we're too afraid to show up to. So the question is, like, what's the smallest, most obvious version of that I can do today? And then what's the next one to do tomorrow? And how do we build that into our reality so that just like brushing your teeth, you're doing this work? It's not something that you ignore. It's something that you're excited to come back to. Like, how am I going to grow into this tomorrow? How am I going to grow into the next day? When I look back at my journey on here, can I look at it with pride? Or do I have to play this game that we're constantly doing of like, oh, we're doing this again? Which means I have to encounter myself not doing a good job of it again, which means that now I just get to play this whole like guilt game again. Like, let's just cut that out. We'll also learn in excruciating detail the exact type of world you want to live in and how it'll feel to live in that world. Because honestly, some people really like this world. And I'm not just saying like racists. I'm saying that like this world was built to privilege a certain type of people. That part of you exists. And to do anything to change the status quo is going to make that part freak out. And so you need to encounter the world that you really want to live in, look at it, see how it does jive or not jive with the reality that we're in right now, and make your changes and be willing to like go toe to toe with the person who's definitely going to protest when you try to make that change in the outer world. We're going to develop skills and techniques to enroll other people into that vision of the future. We're social beings. One of the big things that I've heard from people when they don't want to make these moves is, I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. I don't want to lose my sense of belonging. I don't want to fail at this and then get canceled. I don't want to fail at this and then not be able to have access to the only thing that's keeping me going in this world, which is my community. That's real. You can't take that away from people. The best thing that I can offer is the ability to create a community within yourself and to be able to use tools to figure out how best to show up to the people in your life so that you can help them grow at their pace, not the pace you think they should have. I'm not saying go to your mom and tell her that she needs to be you today. That's not how development works. People grow step by step from the level that they're at. So we're going to help you identify those opportunities for people by teaching you to find the part of them that already exists in you and dialogue with them. And the big powerful thing that we're going to do is we're going to learn how to develop an alter ego that will effortlessly guide you towards this vision. Ultimately, my job is not to be your guru. I'm not interested in telling you the right answer because I don't know the right answer. I don't know what your context is. I don't know where your stretch space is, but I do know is that everyone always has a higher version of themselves that they can imagine. And if you can imagine that higher self in enough detail, all you got to do is do what they would do. And if you don't want to do what they would do, enroll them as your teacher. And there are techniques and skills that we can develop to make it so that that identity, that alter ego, that dialogue becomes clear. It's not a guessing game. This is not an abstraction. Like, you will be able to, on the other side of this, be in dialogue with that self, and they will give you the answer every single day. Here's what you can do next. And if you don't want to do that step, then you can do work to figuring out what the negative belief is that's stopping you. And the ultimate goal is that you always have an infinite set of options for how to take the next step. So what's included in this, we're going to have 30 days of exercises. We're going to give you journaling practices, journaling prompts. There'll be a few videos giving you the ability to explore these unexamined parts of yourself that are resisting making meaningful change in your life. We're also going to find ways to sort of interact with the parts that are resisting examining the part of white supremacy you're in, because I'll be real, that's what's happening. Like, there are parts of you who, to preserve the life that you're living right now, have to wake up every single day and win. If you're sitting in this feeling of discomfort, there is a part of you who is cracking champagne, who's like, we did it. We get another day of this reality. And so our job is to figure out how to get on their side, figure out what they're doing, and enroll them in this higher vision of themselves. Because until you get them on your side, you're going to keep getting the same thing that you've had day in, day out. And really, and this is the big one, if there's anything that you take away from this, it's this aspect. We're going to find, identify, witness, grow the part of you that is addicted to this cycle of shame, guilt, and avoidance. If you're consistently having an emotional experience, it is because your body, your neurochemistry is literally addicted to that cycle. It's the only way that you know how to move forward. And so when terrible things happen to black people, you're going to feel shame. I'm bad. You're going to feel guilt. I'm not doing enough. I'm doing bad stuff. Let me run away from the experiences that are making me have this feeling. And so then you never meaningfully change. Maybe you do one or two things, but you're never going to meaningfully change until that addictive cycle is broken. And that addictive cycle is not going to get broken until you give it something that's going to like better. And right now, it's like, I've got that cocktail inside of me, that guilt shame cycle, like for my own personal journey, that one's big. But when you can find that you actually have permission to enjoy doing work that you think is meaningful and hard, it opens the whole game up. So who is this for? This is for people who want to create an embodied experience of inhabiting their position of white supremacy. These are for people who are willing to say, I am here, and to sit in this I am here-ness, and to find presence there, to be like, it is not bad to be here, it is just a location. For people who are really trying to like find that out, so then they can know what the next step is. For people who want to move out of victim mindset and become leaders capable of holding space for others struggling on their journey. That's ultimately what this is. It's self-leadership. People don't know what to do next because they don't have a part of themselves that they can trust to guide them into the next step. And right now, there's a lot of people stuck in victim mindset. Like, right, I'm not going to tell it to you straight. We're going to put the big kid pants on, white people, but like, you are in a victim mindset when you say, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to do. This problem's too hard. I can't solve it. I don't know what to do. And you're seeking a Superman to solve your problem for you. And I get it. I've been in victim mindset a whole lot of time. I've reached out to coaches. I've read books. Like, somewhere outside of me, there is this answer, and I must find it. And so we're not doing that here. I've tried that game. It doesn't work. So this is for people who want to move out of that mindset. Not to say that you're not in the mindset, but that you deeply desire to move outside of it, and that you want to become a leader. This isn't for followers. This isn't to help you find a way to find a new black guru. This is for someone who wants to be practicing self-leadership and showing that for everyone else. This is for people who are tired of being stuck in similar disempowering patterns towards their relationship with race. Raise your hand if when you think about race, you suddenly feel like a small, scared mammal and it's a big, terrible thing that's going to mess you up, versus just an abstract concept that we could choose to live outside of if we want. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm saying that like our relationship that says it is hard and can't be engaged with is the reason why it's hard and it can't be engaged with. So if you see that story, you would like it to be different, this is a course that's really going to help you out. If you're not interested in that, don't waste your time or mine. doing this because I'm just going to keep pointing to it and we're going to keep doing that work and it's going to be gross and uncomfortable and then you're going to be mean to me and then I got to dunk on you and that's just not going to be fun for anybody. People who want their allyship to create deeper and more meaningful connections with themselves and others. That's the whole point of allyship. We are building bridges together. We can't do this alone. The relationships that we have to develop have to feel good. Your allyship needs to feel like friendship. And if your friendships don't feel good, you leave. So why would you create allyship that does not feel good? And so we're going to really unpack that. We're going to figure out, like, why does being an ally feel harder than just being a friend? Maybe you've got some patterns in friendship that aren't unhealthy that you need to deal with. But the goal is to be able to look back and say, I've created deeper, more meaningful connections with myself, self-allyship, self-friendship, and others. That's who this is for. Now, who is this not for? This is not for people looking to put another feather in their ally cap. I'm not looking to give out Girl Scout brownie badges or Boy Scout badges or pins. This isn't something to win at. This is a game. This is an infinite game. This is a game that you keep playing to play more of the game, and the wins are just that continued feeling of having fun playing the game. You're never going to win. And so collecting totems is not what this is about. And so if you're looking here being like, ooh, here's another way that I can feel good about myself by like having signed up for this course and consumed the content, I mean, do it, but you're going to be missing the entire point, and I don't want to waste my time. People who are looking for absolution or easy solutions. Now, there is this tension that I'm playing around with. I do want this to be sort of simple. I want this to be clear, and I do want it to have a sense of effortlessness, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be easy or quick. And it definitely doesn't mean that I'm going to like be able to wave a magic wand and say, ah, yes, this is a good person and this is not a good person. Not interested in that at all. But we are going to bring ourselves into realizing like, okay, how do I make this easier? How do I make this smoother? How do I continue to make this game flow better? And the act of doing that is kind of difficult. The act of doing that involves taking risk, which might end up causing situations in which you need to like forgive yourself. Like, that's going to keep happening. That's messy. And we're going to do it, and we're going to have fun doing it. But if you just want absolution or easy solutions, this ain't it. Again, people who are looking for a guru to give them the right answer, nope. I've stopped transacting in answers. I only deal with questions. I only deal with sort of pointing at parts of ourselves. I hold up a mirror. I say, is this your card? Like, what's going on here? And when you get good at being able to do that yourself, you don't need a guru. You can just sort of look at yourself and be like, do I like this painting? And if not, all right, let me make a change here. Does that make it better? Okay, no, let me make a change here. That's where we're moving forward. So if you're looking for someone to like study under, I'm going to disappoint you. And if you're looking for the right answer, I can tell you that all answers are partially right in their context, and your job is to figure out how to navigate different contexts. People who think, this is not for people who think that systemic racism is a problem to be solved out there. This is a big one. Systemic racism is systemic, and you are part of the map. It is inside of you as it is inside of me. Doing the inner work is necessary. In fact, the only way to even meaningfully do the outer work is to see and create space inside yourself in which things are the way you want it, and then using the tools that you've learned to make that on the inside to get you to the next step. So if you're thinking, I'm going to show you, here's where the dam is, go break it. Maybe that comes up and that emerges out of you, but we're not here to solve this. We're here to make the experience of being here better. I'm not solving the fact that water exists. I'm going to maybe teach you how to swim. And really, you're going to teach yourself how to swim, and you're going to find out what strokes that you like. And people who are looking for tools to start fights with people they disagree with, this is going to be real bad for those people. I can tell you straight up, there are people who are like, I just need new tools so I can show up on Reddit, so I can go mess with people. Not going to work. Super not going to work, because that's what causes the problem. The concept of an other that I must defeat to gain a life that I want is what racism is. If you do that recreationally, sorry, bro, like, even if you're not doing it towards black people, one day we'll solve this problem and you'll still have this othering relationship that you do with people who are not you or who are not in your tribe who you want to dunk on. And I got no time for that. So just go ahead and be somewhere else. I'm not going to teach you how to fight better. But I might teach you how to take the perspective of someone that you're talking with and maybe meet in the middle for some place that's actually useful. Maybe sort of an emergent point of view that both of you can be edified from. Maybe that happens. But we're not here to like win fights. And people who aren't committed to spending at least 30 minutes a day to this work, I got no time for you. 30 minutes is the least you can do. It's just not that big. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be weird, but it's like a workout. Like it's like if you want to get like swole, you show up to the gym. If you want to learn how to be good at this work, you show up to the gym. This is the gym. I'm gonna teach you how to make sure your form's good. I'm gonna make sure that you're doing exercises that are connected with your body type. I'm gonna make sure you understand that. But we're not here to again have a quick pill. You gotta be willing to do the 30 minutes a day for 30 days. If you can't do that, then you should just give up. Like, I mean, truly, like, I give you permission right now to just be happy with how things are. It's totally chill, because if you aren't going to do that, then it's not that there's no hope, but, like, you're going to have to wait for the rest of society to solve this problem for you. So, again, 30 minutes a day, 30 days, that's who this is for. So this course is going to start on June 18th. The waiting list is going to go live pretty much immediately after I finish this video. And, people who sign up for the course on the waiting list are going to get a bonus weekly call. I think I'm going to cap it at about 10 people. That's about as much as I can really handle. Where we can unpack in a group what comes up throughout the weeks of training in a safe space. So if that's something that's really enticing for you, a lot of this work is best done in community, and a lot of people don't have that. So I really want to, at least for a small portion of people that I can give this for, because this isn't my main job. I got a whole other thing that I do, but I felt as though I would be doing the vision that I'm being called to includes this, and so I got to show up for it. So we're going to do that. So if you sign up for the waitlist before June 18th, you'll be able to join in on a weekly call as we sort of have conversations around that. It's sort of an early bird bonus. And we're going to be doing it sliding scale. Again, I'm going to put a link to an application, and we'll set up a time to sort of talk and sort of see like exactly what experience that you're trying to have. And if it's a good fit for you, then we'll talk. My goal is to not turn anyone away for not being able to pay. That seems like a totally waste of my time. I'd love to be able to continue to have these conversations. They're deeply important to me. But we're going to have a hard talk about what this work is worth to you, because that's the conversation that isn't really happening. So that's why we're doing an application process. We want to make sure that people are being really thoughtful when they show up to this, and want to make sure they have an opportunity to like chat with me to really figure out like if we can get them to where they need to go. And if not, no harm, no foul. I know tons of people who've got really great resources. I'll make sure that that call feels like really good. It's really fun. Again, there's no obligation to do anything, to talk, and I'm totally happy to do it. I'm creating that space for you, but we're gonna actually have that conversation. So to recap, starting the Mastering the Game of Allyship program, 30-day program. That's a sort of abridged version of the Mastering the Game of Life program that I offer for my one-on-one clients. We're going to be unpacking, dialoguing with the parts of ourselves that are getting in the way of us enthusiastically showing up to ally work. We're going to encounter the parts of ourselves that are choosing to be in the shame, guilt, dissociation spiral, and figure out how to get those parts on our side so that we can actually make meaningful change in our lives, so that we have the ecological support to show up to this work. And we're going to do that for 30 minutes a day, a lot of journaling, a lot of, there'll be a couple videos, and again, if you sign up before June 18th, you'll have a weekly call. There'll be a call replay where you can see, participate in people having these conversations, but also have a chance to, on your own time, watch as they unfold. So yeah, let me know in the comments if this is something that you're excited about. Share this video with your people if it's something that you think would be helpful for folk that you know. Reach out to anyone, send them my way. I don't know exactly how much of my time I'm going to be able to commit to this, but I want to do it as much as possible. And yeah, sign up for the waitlist and let me know what you think. I'll talk to y'all later.